Well, we'll see how effectively I can answer this next question. The question is theoretical and practical alignment of my program with that which went before and that which is anticipated to follow. And we're looking at here how the students are actually entering into the classroom and the literacy program, what they had prior to this. For preliminary concerns with the planning and what I have to take into consideration, I have to look at what the students already know, so doing a diagnostics. In this particular classroom, coming into about a grade 3 level, they're just being introduced to English. So they have about a kindergarten stage when they come in. So this could be equivalent to almost like a grade 1. So we're looking at, do the students actually know the alphabet? Do they know the sounds of the letters, the consonants, the vowels? Do they know long vowel sounds? Chances are they probably don't. Most of the students that I had here at this stage, even at grade 3, couldn't identify the sounds of the consonants. So going back and reestablishing those sort of connections. We also have to take a look at what their reading experience has been. Do their parents read to them in English or in Inuktitut? In the earlier grades, they do a little bit of storytelling, but how do they interact with that? So have they started to question the stories? Are they starting to get the ideas, or is it very passive? We're also looking at how technology has been introduced into the classroom as well. Do the students get videos other than just movies and watching? Do they have like exploration where they are able to provide a topic to the teacher and have the teacher kind of bring that in? So some of these concerns that I'm really looking at, I also notice with writing, being able to see how physically the students are holding the pencil and how they form the letters. I didn't think that that was going to be an issue, something I didn't think about until I was watching the students actually do this. So having them draw from the top down and create the letters is easier to, if they're going to be moving into a form of cursive writing, if they're going to be doing much writing at all. I mean, technology is starting to replace that. Here, at least, they're going to be doing print for a number of years anyway. How do they print? Do they have any kind of awareness of capital or spaces or punctuation, any kind of spelling? Are they able to reproduce any sight words that they might have learned in the earlier years? But physically with the writing, again, going back to that, noticing how the hand is being held and being able to have them just hold a pen in a relaxed fashion. I find that they often choke the pen and they become very, very tired, digging in the pen and moving the lines away from them. So correcting that if possible, but just allowing them opportunities to be able to practice those sort of writings. The emergent literacy factors that I think that need to be really looked at, especially with writing, is developing ideas. I think the students are coming in and they're just basically going from an emergent, being able to kind of write some things down about a picture, maybe a few words, maybe it's spelled incorrectly, but they're gaining that understanding that that writing is making words. Although they are familiar with Inuktitut, spelling out the syllables, so that transition isn't as difficult. Where I want to take them during that time for ideas is that they start to get a general idea. They start to see that if they're dealing with writing, that they're having like maybe a main theme or a main idea that they're going to be writing on. As they move out of my grade, I'm hoping to take them from the beginning stages through an emerging into an emerging developing stages where they're having the main idea specifically stated for them. In the beginning, when they come in, they're not really going to know the beginning, middle, and end of a story, or perhaps of writing something. It might just be continuously run on and, or just simply stated, not having a developed idea. The ideas, when they do present them, are often unsequenced, again with the connectors of possibly and, if there is any kind of connectors in that way. They might have some idea of structuring it, maybe some idea of tense, just going from sound. But where I want to take them again is going from a solid beginning where the start is, trying to develop that middle and then end, so a resolution process. So by the time they leave, hopefully they can identify when they're hearing a story, they can identify the beginning, middle, end, and when they're writing a piece of work, they're able to kind of create a beginning, a middle, and an end product as well. When thinking about terms of being able to hear the sounds and words, being able to draw them out and sound them out. Phonetics is a component of this. Now, I think that with inside the classroom, it's not just skills based and it's not just play based. We're looking at kind of having the integration of both, and and that's something that one of the articles that we had in class was talking about. I mean, certainly Pascal was highlighting in his Pascal, the literacy report, was saying how play-based is such a wonderful thing to be able to introduce there. The formal education process without play-based, another article by Lausches Joanne, all work and no play is not good for the developing brain. This, again, this play idea, this idea of coming in and having fun in the classroom is certainly of great benefit. It keeps them engaged and it doesn't turn them off. And that's something that I don't know what the students are coming in from previous teachers, is whether they actually have a love of being able to write or to read, or even just communicate in that way, depending on how they were interacted with that sort of media or text in the years before. There may actually be a strong disposition. I know some of the families up in the north, not necessarily so supportive of the school systems, in some cases just from history, that they actually could come in with kind of pre-established, school's not really that so important or that much fun. I'm trying to find the article here that we have about mixed learning. I think that mixed learning is really important. I think that there has to be some kind of foundation for a skill space. So this child is actually developing a skill, but not done in such a rote or memorized manner that they're just going to be basically, following a systematic pattern. There has to be some kind of creativity and interaction in that. And what that would look like in some ways, and I might be touching on the next topic a bit ahead of time here, but for an example, we're learning word families right now. And I have a list of words that have all been cut up on cue cards, on small cards, and basically what we're doing is we're playing a game with it, where the students all sit around. They have 8 cards with different words, and you can put a card down in the center, and whatever word family that is, if the next person beside you can match it, they can throw down whatever cards they have that matches that word. They have to say the word. So if it's pan and they have van and man, they have to say that word so that they're actually interacting with that and being able to pronounce it, being able to read it. And what I found was just a simple game like that was able to engage all of the students, even my lower level students who have difficulty in reading or even speaking up in class. And by putting a consonant sound in front of those word endings and modeling what that word ending is consistently and consciously throughout the game, they're able to sound out that first letter. So for fan, they're already familiar now with the ending, and they come back to that practice that we've done with the consonant sound. So being able to say f and getting that blending. What I'm noticing in the game is that it's actually happening really quite remarkably quickly, because they're able to recognize those soundings. Now, as we kind of move through, and we say, what experiences, knowledges, and attitudes, predispositions, skills, talents, learning styles, and or learning preferences do my students bring in September? It's a bit of a loaded question. Probably a wide variety. Looking at just the 16 kids that I have right now, there's a lot that want to be able to engage artistically. They want to draw a lot. They want to create. They love doing artistic things. They like to play and discourse amongst themselves, usually in a Inuktitut book, trying more and more in English. Attitudes, some like school, some don't like school. Predisposition is to avoid. Often, unfortunately, a predisposition is to give up. It's too hard. Anytime there seems to be something that's a bit of a challenge for them, whether it's writing 2 or 3 sentences, if they don't want to do it, it just becomes too hard. Skills and talents, I find, skills with them, again, incredibly artistic. They're very smart and they're able to pick up on things quite quickly. A lot of patternistic. Preferences for learning, they are loving the technology. We do an exploration component probably once or twice a week, just where the students are able to pick some of the themes or interests that they have, and we'll just go on Google and look at images, and we'll just kind of surf the images in this way as one idea leads into another, and we'll sit and discuss. And it's amazing that these students who can be running around like mad, they just settle right in and look at the pictures, and they ooh and ah as they point to pictures, and we talk about them a little bit. And it also allows me a good enjoyment to be able to kind of move away from the specific curricular expectations and just kind of work on those developing social skills and interacting, which are of course in the expectations themselves, but it allows a lot more leniency and flexibility. What I'm preparing them for, that's actually a really serious question here, and it's not something that can easily be answered for, I'm preparing them for a job or a career or something. I have to really look at it and say that I'm preparing them to be able to take those first founding steps on their own journey and discovery towards literacy. And this is quite important, especially within a community like this, because quite often these individuals are not leaving their community. They end up staying around here, and unfortunately there's a very high dropout rate and suicide rate that happens as we get into later years. Being able to develop a love of literacy gives an opportunity for these students to be able to engage with texts and media that are outside their immediate community, that gives them different perspectives on the world, that can give them opportunities and options of being able to engage with the outside worlds, even with each other, to be able to share different ideas and concepts. When they don't leave the community in this sense, often we're noticing in high school, talking with some of the other teachers, that they're feeling very trapped, that there's no way out for them. They don't seem to possess the skills that really, when they graduate from a high school, some of these students aren't able to write at all. The reading level is very, very low, a grade 3, 4 level. So we're seeing students graduate from a high school, and it's kind of like fake graduates is what they're calling them. So when I'm saying preparing them, it's actually taking this, and I don't know what the future is going to hold for these students, whether it be inside the community or whether this sort of learning is going to offer them opportunities for employment outside the community via the virtual world, as technology becomes more and more engaging and entrapping, if you will, into the communities. It's really it's a powerful question. Is what am I preparing them for? It's an unknown. It's an unknown future for sure here. But again, I think that the best thing that I can try and develop is a love of literacy and a love of being able to explore and create with themselves, and develop that confidence within themselves that they can, even if it's just a few words, even if it's just going through a slowly process of reading level, but that they can actually feel that they are learning, that they're able to do some of these things. I think a lot of them feel very conditioned, that it's just too hard. They don't need a language. So in a way, almost the play-based learning kind of tricks them into them having fun and enjoying the interaction, and they're actually drawing away from that, which certainly can be a challenge. Now, as they leave my classroom, some of the experience that I hope they have is that they're able to develop listening skills, where they're listening to other people, where they're taking their turns. There seems to be quite a bit of free-for-all, where students can just jump up and engage and say whatever they want. But having these social skills where people are respected, where ideas are shared, where they're valued. So certainly the listening. The knowledge that I want them to know is I want them to be able to have the founding skills of being able to decode words. At first, being able to read is important, but I mean, just being able to get them through the reading levels itself is valuable, certainly, to be able to read and pronounce a word, but it's the content, and it's that connection to that content. At very low level readers, like level 1, level 2, it's difficult to connect into that kind of content. They're not very high interest books. So having the students develop their own stories, I find is a great way of being able for them to practice their vocabulary and build on that. I'd like them to be able to know how to write with an idea, with a theme, with some sort of audience in mind. So whether they're writing for their parent, or writing a letter, or writing a story, or creating a play, I want them to know that they can take this print structure and be able to put it into a creative context where where they're able to kind of express themselves. Now, in technical terms, what I'd like them to be able to do is know some degrees of punctuation. When they're writing, I want them to be able to know that there's spaces between words, to be able to sound out phonetically words, and we're practicing a lot with that, so that they're given that confidence that even if it's not spelled correctly right now, that they're able to put that idea down on paper. To take these ideas and be able to put them onto the computer, to be able to type them out, to be able to connect them with image, whether they hand draw it or whether they're downloading them off the internet to make their own stories. I want them to be moving into more and more accurate use of their high frequency words. So as they leave this grade, they have a bank of words that they're able to identify rapidly, that they're able to spell correctly, and that these foundational words are kind of the grounding layer for many of the future words, future vocabulary. Often one-word answers, even just facial expressions are given here in terms of response. So being able to use those words and to see the value of describing words, describing events, so that we can give almost a tactile or an expression to just very common everyday sort of occurrences. As they leave this grade, I'm hoping that they have those founding abilities, that they can identify where a capital goes, where a period goes. They can be phonetically spelling, that they're comfortable using the alphabet in those terms, that they do have their word bank, that when they're reading, they're able to, again, depending on their level of reading, but that they're able to sound out these words, and that they're able to engage the book. They're able to engage the media and say, why is this? What's going on here? And having myself model that and engage them with regular class readings, with their own readings, and getting them to say, well, why is this happening? Why do you like this? Why is this going on? What is the beginning? What is the middle? What is the end? Challenge them into these ways so that when they leave and go into another grade, they're able to build on those experiences. So it's almost like a fluid kind of uptake of that, so that they're able to continue on this and grow in this sense. This is it's kind of a 20-minute introduction on how this goes about, and I think it's a very complicated, essentially not so complicated. We're taking the skills from wherever they are here, we're assessing, we're evaluating where they are, we're seeing where they can use the benefit, and some students are going to be at different levels than others, but we're going to try and draw them up, moving towards from a beginning emerging into a developing role. I don't think within 1 year it would be realistic to move into the capable zone, to be looking where they have clear, concise punctuation, but that's where we're starting to go with them. So as they reach back home in Ontario, it would be grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, they're developing this more solid foundation of writing. They're developing these ideas better. The technicalities of the writing are coming through. The vocabulary is starting to become more complex and emerge. Here we're going to see that in a little bit later grades, so we're seeing that in possibly grade 5, grade 6, grade 7, even grade 8. We're starting to see that development. Now, I think it's really important to get these in at the early years, and this is where I'm not being critical of none of it, but it's a different system. As we look through and we see that the early years are so critical to new languages. Bunnell in 2007 wrote an article, Why is it easier for young children to learn a new language? And this basically is that we have brain plasticity, that we're looking at developmental stages that these children are going through. And so by the time they reach grade 3, there's an argument saying that it's getting pretty late in the game to be starting these sort of things, and so that's an extreme challenge that we're facing in the territory. Going back into kindergarten, grade 1 and grade 2, what they're learning is the foundations of a Inuktitut, but then everything else is in English, and everything's moving, and so it's almost as though we're starting kind of at a grade 1 level in grade 3, kindergarten grade 1 level, and trying to bring that up. And so that is a very, very difficult challenge too, because I think already they're going way, 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 way behind the 8 ball. It's a very difficult shot to be able to get that through, and what we're seeing in later years within the high schools, and that is it these skills are not present, that those attitudes are not there, and that's very difficult to control there. Very difficult to kind of recapture once they have that. Yeah, I think I'll summarize there. That's the essence of that. So when they leave my grade, hopefully they have a much better understanding of themselves and with literacy, and are able to communicate that a little bit more effectively.